So, this is Transition Thrive. We've just finished this Transition Thrive in Barcelona. And here we have a very nice visual facilitation that was done during the course that shows you what we did in Thrive. Of course, every Thrive is different, but here's just a representation of the sort of things we do in Transition Thrive. So we started off day one of welcoming and an introduction. Here's the group, the wonderful people who were here that were part of the group. We did some mapping to understand what it is, who's here, and their relationships with each other. After the introduction in day one of the first morning, our journey took us first to the transition animal. The transition animal gave us created a diagnostic of transition initiatives that were represented. So here we have vision, we have practical projects, we have groups, we have the context, as well as networking and partnering and practical projects and celebration. After this diagnostic, which was quite a detailed process of understanding what it is that it takes to create a really effective transition initiative, out of that we were able to gather a whole series of burning questions that we grouped in each of these categories that we found took us through the rest of the Thrive, the 2-day training. After lunch, we then did an exercise where we looked at both the crisis that we're facing, so some of the dangers and some of the problems of the crisis, and also the opportunities that come from recognizing some of the difficulties that we're facing. And out of that, people created some ideas and some projects that they could do as a result of the opportunities they spotted. We then progressed to a fishbowl where we examined the role of vision, and the role of vision in creating motivation and focusing what is the most important thing we need to do for our transition initiative. Of course, we had many cups of coffee and tea. We also then did a practical vision of exploring what is our question, what is the future, and how we can use that future vision to energize and also to create the practical steps of where we want to go. Of course, we then slept, and hopefully not too many of us dreamt about windmills. On day two, the opening of day two included a recap of what we did on day one, and then we started, and in a very nice way, I think the fishbowl sort of wove through the following bit of day two to give us a sense of where we're going. We did a bit of prioritization of looking at what are the priorities of the projects that were represented here. So here's a list of some of the projects, some of the transition projects, but also some businesses that were here. And we looked at what are the needs of those projects, what would they need to do, what would they need from us over the next day. We went from there to look at some of we focused on human needs using the methodology of Manfred Max Need, and we looked at some of those basic human needs and how our projects can be created to meet those needs, and in doing so create a new economic structure. The following bit of the day, we looked at we created a World Cafe where we did some peer-to-peer coaching. 4 of the projects stepped forward and offered themselves as potential projects actual projects that people were doing, that they gained some information, but also people arrived at the table, asked them good questions, interrogated their process, and were able to give them some really good questions and also answers of how they thought they could move their projects forward. After that, we moved on to a burnout session where we looked at personal resilience and how we can maintain our personal resilience. We had a dialogue between people to understand what their needs are in terms of creating personal resilience. And then the end of the course was a transition clinic where some of the last questions were looked at. We did a group exploration of what some of the questions and what some of the answers to those questions might be. And then we moved on to look at what's our goals, what's our next steps as we left. We interrogated those, we said thank you, and then we're now going off into our own places, saying goodbye. And that was the Transition Thrive in Barcelona. Thank you.